myself Prasad Nityanand. Hope all of you are doing well in this situation. For today's topic, I will be explaining to you some of the very useful Excel tools, and we will begin this Excel intermediate and advanced skill now. Firstly, I will show you some of the important functions which we can use in Excel. Many of you will be acquainted with this VLOOKUP and match and index formulas. I will explain to you some more advantages and some more applications of these formulas. Basically, firstly, to give you overview of this presentation, this today's presentation will be consisting of two parts. The first part will be some of the important inbuilt Excel functions, and the next part will be introduction to VBA macro. Now we will start with the basic functions in Excel, which is VLOOKUP, match, and index. There are many functions in Excel, but the most and widely used functions which are very beneficial in your corporate and industrial sector are these formulas. That is VLOOKUP, match, and index. Here I am having some sample data of some students and their marks in individual subjects. To start with the VLOOKUP function, what is the usefulness of VLOOKUP function? Like suppose this data is very huge and you want some marks of student K in physics, then do you will be needed to do that manually by going to that K row and then going to this physics column, and then you will say it is 21. uh, this VLOOKUP functions makes it much easier for the user. Student just need to Any user will just need to enter the student name and the subject name, and he will directly get the marks by use of this function. For example, here we want the marks of student B in subject of physics. So this is the syntax of VLOOKUP function. The VLOOKUP function, the first part, it will have it will have four arguments. The first argument is nothing but the lookup value. Lookup value is nothing but for which student we want the marks. So that is for student B. The second part is the table array. In this table array, we will select the range of cells from which that student marks value will be taken. So this is nothing but our whole table, which is highlighted in red. And the next is the column index. So column index, it is nothing but from which column you want the marks. So you want marks of physics. So physics is in which column? So that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So here I have inputted 5. And next is the what is you want the exact lookup or approximate lookup. So 0 is for exact lookup, so that I have inputted here 0. So here you can see for student B, it is giving me marks in physics. So physics, it is 74. This will be dynamic formula. So if I change B to D, it will be giving me marks for D, student D. Also, if you want to change from this physics to chemistry, then what I will have to do is I will have to change from column 5 to column 6. So it will give student D in chemistry. So that is 74. So this is how VLOOKUP function will work. Next, to teach you about index and match function. So basically we can say VLOOKUP function is integration of index and match function. So what is a match function? match function will give you what is number of that particular value in that list. So suppose we want to find match of G in this list. So what will it mean? It will mean that in this list, starting from 0 up to 7, starting from 1 up to 17, in what sequence G is coming. So what is the number of G? It will have three arguments. First is the lookup value, second is the lookup list. So this is the list we are selecting, and at what number this G is coming, it will output that. So 8 is the output. So as you can see, this is the serial number G. It will correspond to 8 and it will show you here. Similarly, the index function. What will index function do? Index function is nothing but it is inverse of match function. In any particular list, it will show you the number which we input here. So index of 10 in this particular list will give you at number 10 what is the value in this list. So it will give you I. So starting from this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So this 10 will correspond to I. So it will output I. So in this index, it will have two arguments. First, we have to input the array, and next we have to input what number you want in that list. So I have inputted 10. So I will just change the value here. Index of 4. Will be C. So C is at 4th location. Similarly, if I change anything here, suppose I want match of B, it will be 3. If I want match of C, it will be 4. So we can see this both are inverse of each other. Then the next thing I would like to show you, in this match function, there is this part which is the match type. So 1 is less than, 0 is exact match, and -1 is greater than. So this is the range I have selected, and I want match of 14 which is less than. So for less than, I will be doing 1. So you can see it is showing you 2. So what number it is less than 14 in this list? So in this list, less than 14 is 10 number. So at what location this 10 number is coming? This 10 number is coming at the second location. So it will output 2. So this is the usefulness of match function. Now if you want what is at the second location, then you can use the index function. I will do index, I will do this array, comma, what location? At second location. So it will give you 10. So indirectly, we can combine these two formulas to get 10. So if you want in this list, what number it is less than 14, we can directly tell by looking it is 10. But if imagine it is huge amount of data and it is in 2-dimensional, then it will be very difficult to tell manually. So in that cases, match and index functions are useful. Okay, now we will be going forward to the next part, that is table. Okay, so firstly to tell you, this is just some format, or you can say this is some data. It is a good practice in Excel to always convert it to table first. We cannot say this is a table, this is just a data with good formatting, but this is not a table yet. To convert it to table, we need to go into this insert and table. We need to select this range, my table as headers, So these are the headers there. So I have make it ticked on. So now this got converted into a table. So you can see whenever you scroll down in a table, those headers will always stay at the top. Unlike the previous case, the headers will not remain at the top. So this has now been converted into a table. Now the next thing we will learn in this is how to generate a pivot table from tables. So I will be taking this data for example, and I will go to this insert pivot table. I will select this range. Okay. So this is how we will create pivot table. What I will do is these are the rows, columns, and sigma values. Sigma values is nothing but the same values. I will be putting in rows. Item I will put it in rows. Region I will put in columns, and all this cost I will put it in sum. So this is how you can see from this table this pivot is generated. So you can filter here. So for central region, you can first you have a look at this table. This table is nothing but in what region, who is the recipient of this item, how many units he has purchased, what is unit cost, and what is the total cost. Okay, and in this pivot, we want all the orders in central region. Then we will just select central here, and it will show you what is this pencil, how many units are sold, what is the sum of unit cost of all these pencils, and what is the sum overall sum of all the pencils that are sold. So this is how you can create a pivot, and you can do analysis on your data. All this sum all this sum and everything will be too much difficult in this table, and so this pivot generation, it is very important. You can select two regions at a time. This will show central region, this will show east region, and this will be the sum of both the regions. So this is how we create pivot tables. Next we will go to some more features of this Excel. So those are the targeting problems. So these targeting problems are mostly faced by the engineers, and while finding out solution of some equation. So let us say there is input and output. Input is x and output is some function of x. Uh, to explain this, I am taking this example. This is the function of x. So this is of the format f of x equal to 0. So finding out x value for this equation is nothing but finding out the root of this equation. So we have to find a value of x. For this equation will satisfy. So how to do that in Excel? This I have done this. We will take some initial guess here, and this is output of f of x. This expression is nothing but this example that I have put. So whenever I change this value of x, this f of x will change. Now, what is our requirement? Our requirement is f of x should be 0. So at what value, so this value which I have selected should be 0 by changing this, by changing x. So at what value of x this value becomes 0, that we have to find out. Okay, this can also be done by trial and error. We can input some values, it will show some values here, but that is not the correct solution, and also it is not feasible. So I will tell you how to do that by solver tool. This solver tool, you can find out in data tab. So first you need to go to this data, and here you can see what if analysis. What if analysis, goal seek. So we have to set cell, we have to set cell B2, which is nothing but f of x, to value of 0 by changing which cell. We have to change this cell. Okay. So you can see it has done some iterations, and by changing this value of b1, it has put b2 to almost 0. Why I'm saying it is almost 0, because there is a limitation to the number of iterations which Excel can do. So on its background, it will follow some particular method to find out solution of this, and that method will have some iterations in it. So you can see by this you can find out the approximate, it is almost, you can say, almost accurate solution of this equation. Next method, you can find out solution of this by using the solver tool. This is the solver tool. And how can you bring this solver tool? This solver tool you can bring by going into file, options, then going into add-ins. Then you can go here, manage Excel add-ins, go here. You need to put you need to take this solver add-in, this one. Okay. So by doing this, you will get this solver in this data tab. So you need to go to this solver. You need to put it here, set objective b2 value of 0 by changing b1. You can add constraints here too, like you want this b1 to be negative, or you want b1 to be positive, or if you want b1 within like 0 to 10, you can put all those constraints here if you want. When you do solve, you can see it has solved to more accuracy than what we got earlier. If solver solution, okay. So you can see this is more close to 0 than this what if goal seek tool. Why this is happening? Because the number of iterations in this solver tool are more than the number of iteration in this goal seek tool. So the solution which is provided by solver will always be more accurate than the goal seek. So this is how you will get the root of an equation. So this is nothing but the root of this equation. Next we will do the optimization problem. Optimization problem. Okay, so this is the function. So in this function, we have to find out the maximum of function and minimum of function, and at what value that maximum is happening and at what value the minimum is happening. So you can see I have plotted this graph. This is x and this is f of x. I have taken some values of x, and this is f of x. This is nothing but this equation. I have plotted this graph, and you can see it is becoming maximum here, and for this 0 to 10, it is becoming minimum here. As such, it is becoming minimum here, but if you put some constraint, like I want minimum in 0 to 10, it will show minimum here. So we will try to find out the solution, not solution, exactly the minimum of function and maximum of function, so that this minimum and maximum can be done with the help of solver tool. I will put some initial guess, which is phi. Phi is somewhere over here, and it is getting maximum to the near location. This is the initial guess. and it will always show maximum to the near location, maximum or minimum to the near location of this phi. So it is always necessary to plot a graph first. So what I will do, I will go to solver. I will set objective. My objective is this, and to maximum, I want this value to be maximum by changing which cell? By changing B1 cell. Solve. You can see it has done to 5.65, that is somewhere over here. So in closer to 5, which is the maximum location, this is 5.65 location, and its maximum is 0.31. So this is 0.31. Now suppose in from 0 to 10, you want the minimum value. So what I will do, I will go to solver again. I will put minimum by changing cell label, subject to, I will add the constraints. What I will do, I will do this B1. It should be greater than or equal to 0. I will add one more constraint. This B1 will be less than or equal to 10. I will add. So these two constraints I have added. So for the value of B1 from 0 to 10, show me where it is getting minimum. Okay, so it has showed me from sorry 8.79. It is somewhere over here. So this is, as you can see, this is the near value which where it is getting minimum. This value you can also see on graph. Point number 9. So this is how you find out the minimum and maximum value. Now to go to the next solving method, which is the circular solving. So circular solving is nothing but finding out the solution for x equal to f of x type of equations. Here I am taking example of x equal to 1 upon sine x. So we have to find out the value of x for which this equation satisfies. So this equation, it can be okay. There are two methods of finding out the solution of this such type of problem, where x equal to f of x. So 1 upon sine x is nothing but f of x. Here I will plot one table. I will put x equal to 1 and f of x is equal to 1 upon sine of this 1. Now next what I will do, I will put this f of x in x again. So I will do equal to this. I will drag this, then I will find out f of x when x equal to this. I will drag this down here. Now I will drag this both down, and what I can see is these two values are getting close to each other. After some iterations, we can find out like these values are almost getting same. So this is nothing but the solution of this equation. When x equal to this, it will satisfy this equation. When x equal to 1.114157, x equal to 1 upon sine x. So this is the root of this equation. But sometimes what will happen, like these values will instead of converging, they will diverge. So instead of getting to one particular value, they will move away from each other. So how to find out solution in these cases? In these cases, you can find out solution by doing this circular iterative solving. So this x and this is f of x. I have put some initial guess as 1, and f of x is 1 by sine of this one. Now what I will do is, okay, first I would like to tell you to enable this iterative solving. First, you will need to go to options, formulas, enable iterative solving. With making it disable, I will tell you it will give an error. What I will do is, I will put initial guess, I will put f of x, then here I will do equal to f of x, because x equal to f of x. It will give you this error. There are one or more circular references where a formula refers to its own cell directly or indirectly. So, like, why this is giving error? Because I have put this cell is dependent on this cell, then I have put this cell is dependent on the down cell. So it is giving the error. To solve this error, I will go to options, formulas. I will enable iterative circulation calculation. Maximum iterations will be 100, and this is some tolerance value. Like after doing iterations, if the value is within this much, difference is within this much, that iterations will be stopped. So this is the tolerance value. Now you can see that error is gone and it has reached some value. So I can say like this is the approximate value, or this is the approximate solution to this equation. If you increase the number of iterations, you can say this value will change. You can see this value got changed and they have become more close to each other. So if the number of iterations you increase, the number of accuracy it will increase. But again, the processing time it will be more. If it is a complex formula, the time which it will take to solve that equation will be more. So we should always put that number of iterations to some optimum value. So this is how you find out circular equation solution. Next we'll be going to the charts. So this is some x and this is some f of x. I have taken some equation and I have plotted this graph. So this is the graph I have plot. You all must be familiar how to plot a graph. I will once again show it to you how to plot a graph. I will select this data, insert. I will go to charts. I will do the scatter chart. So it has plot nothing but x is on x-axis and f of x is on y-axis. So this graph it has plot. Now we have to find out what equation this graph is satisfying. Like it has put some dots. Now if we want to find a line which will pass all through this point, and what is the equation of that line and how much that line is accurate, that we have to find out. That also can be done in Excel. What we will do is we will right click this chart and okay, we'll right click these points. Instead of right clicking on this chart, we will select these points and then we will right click and it will show option of add trend line. We'll do this add trend line. You can see here like it is one linear line is being created among all these points, but it is not passing all this point. It is much away from all this point. So we will try to do a polynomial line. Polynomial line is nothing but it is second order, means it is x square plus x plus 1 and some coefficient to x square, x and 1. It is that second order polynomial line. If I go on increasing the order, you will see like this dotted line, which is nothing but a trend line, it will try to move closer to all this point. So the more number the more order I increase, the more accurate it will become. So you can see, like 3, it is somewhat away from this point, but if I put 4, it is almost going through all this point. Now you can see it has plotted the fourth order polynomial line. But what is this line? What is equation of that line? I will take all this. So you can see this is the equation of this line. Y equal to this coefficient of x raised to 4, x raised to 3, x raised to 2, x. And this is nothing but the r square value. Now what is r square value? R square value is nothing but the more this r square value is close to 1, the more accurate this line is. You can say this is x raised to 5. This r square value is almost equal to 1. And in raised to 6, this r square value is equal to 1. So this is the most accurate line which is passing through all these points. If I go into linear, you can say this r square value is pretty much low. If I go into polynomial, you can see for second degree polynomial it is 0.6. If I go on increasing, this r square value goes on increasing. So in this case, for r raised to 6, it is equal to 1, but in every time it may not be become equal to 1. So, but our target should be, it should be as close as to 1 without increasing the number of terms. Because as you increase the number of terms, the more complex it will become. So by keeping the number of terms to minimum, r square value should be as close to 1 as possible. So this is how you add trend line. Next we will go to a query. So what is a query? Query is nothing but integrating your Excel with internet. Suppose from internet you want some data value and you want that data value to update it regularly. I have put this website here. It has the live currency value. So this is the currency table. This is the currency table, and this is live. It gets updated daily. This was on 4th May. So if I want this 4th May data table to be imported to Excel, and what I want is, I want this to be updated daily. So how do I take this to Excel? Obviously, copying all this and pasting it on Excel is one thing, but it won't be updated automatically. So how can we do that? This can be done by going into insert. Okay, by going into data, then we go into get data from web. We have to get this data from web. It will ask URL of that site. I will paste URL of the site. I will click on OK. It will load whatever is on that web page. So this table was available on the web page. This table available. This table is available, and lastly the table which we want. This is the table which we want. It has the conversion value from this currency to this currency, and what is the rate. I will do load. after I do load, one table will be converted, that is table 0. You can see this is in the table as the header are not getting off the screen. So this is a table and this is not a simple data. Whenever you click on this refresh, this table will be updated. So you need not go to that site regularly. You can just go to this Excel and click on refresh. This table will be automatically updated. Okay, so this is something, the basic Excel tools, which are which might be important or which are very useful for an engineer in his corporate life, which I have shown you. Now we will move on to the next part of the course, that is VBA macro. Now I will just VBA macro is a very wide scope. I will try to introduce to the VBA macro in this session, and I will tell you what are the different classification of VBA macro, and how can you start to be a developer. So for to be a developer, first you will need to enable the developer tab. How to enable the developer tab? Okay, so this is the developer tab. Initially, when you open Excel, this may not be visible. How can you enable this tab? You will need to go into File, Options. Then you will need to go to Customize Ribbon. Here you will see this developer. You need to tick it on. After you tick it on, this developer tab will be visible. So these are the macros. All the macros which are in this file will be recorded here. And this is the Visual Basic. Visual Basic editor. It is the main screen of macro where you will write all the code. Okay, so to start with the basics of macro, first I will show you how to record a macro and how to play it back. So this is some sample data which I am having here. What I will do is, I will select some particular cell. I will highlight it. I will make it bold. And I will increase the size. Now I want to do it for every cell which I click. So that is some manual process. Of course, I can use this format painter, but imagine this will be, imagine this is some other task other than formatting. So how can I record this, what I have done, and how can I play it back? We will go to developer. I will record a macro. I will put some macro name. Let it be macro 1. I can put some shortcut like Control Shift W. Okay. You can see it has started. Recording has started. Now whatever I do will be recorded. First I will highlight. I will make it center. I will make it bold. I will increase the size. Then I will stop recording. Now this macro has been recorded. You can see in this macro 1 it is there. When you click on edit, you can see its code here. You can see this is the shortcut. These green lines are nothing but comment lines. This comment line will not be, this comment line are nothing but the information, and it will not be what you say available in the code to run. So this color is nothing but corresponds to the yellow color. This horizontal alignment I have done center. I have made it bold equal to true. Then I have increased the font size. So this, it has recorded macro here. You may not need to learn this, or you may not need to remember all this code. You can just record it and then again you can play it back. So I will select some other number. I will do Control Shift W. It has done. From here also I can do macro 1 run. So whatever you select, this formatting will be applied to that. So this is how you record a macro and then you play it back. So this is one of the easiest steps in macro. You can add sheets, you can delete sheets. Now we will move to the next part. Like in this recording of macro, there is something called references. There are two type of references. One is absolute reference and next is relative reference. And the third one is mixed of both, that is mixed referencing. I will remove this formatting first. Now I will tell you what is the difference between both the references. uh, One more thing I would like to tell you, how, like, suppose this cursor is in middle of this and you want to select the whole data. How will we select the whole data? With keyboard shortcut you can do control shift 8, and wherever that cursor is it will select that whole data. Control shift 8. This is how you select the whole data. So what is the absolute reference? First, this relative reference, the previous macro which I recorded was using an absolute reference. Now I will show you using relative reference. I will select this 25, and what I will do is I will make this on. Use relative references, I have made it on. On the right side of this cursor, I will do yellow. Bottom of this 25, I will make it bold and I will make it center. And the on the third row of 25, that is first, second, third, I will delete this row. Okay, sorry, that record macro I forgot to make it on. I will make this relative reference on, then I will click on record macro. It will be record macro 2. Okay. Okay, so first the selection is 49. On the right side of 49, I will make it yellow. On the bottom of 49, I will make it bold and center. And on the three columns from 49, that is first, second, third, this is third, I will delete this column. Then I will return back to 49. So this has been recorded with the help of relative reference. I will open the macro 2, edit. So everywhere it has used active cell offset. Active cell offset. Active cell offset. This is nothing but the relative reference. So I will just run it again and you can see what happens. You can see I selected that 24. This 27 was got in yellow. Below 24, it was bold and center, and the right and three columns from 24 it deleted. I will run it again. I will select this 30 and developer macro 2. I have selected this 30. So this should be highlighted and this should be bold. So same thing happened. This was highlighted, this was bold, and after this 30, it deleted the third column. But if you do this in absolute referencing, it will always highlight the same cell. Irrespective of what is your starting selection, in absolute reference, it will always highlight that cell only. But in relative reference, it is with relative to your starting position. So if in starting I have done this 77. So this will be highlighted, this will be bold. So it is doing as per expectation. What if we do this in the absolute referencing? I have selected this 49. I have used absolute referencing. Now I will record a macro 3. This 49 I will turn to this. This will be bold and center, and I will delete this row. Then I will stop recording. Now I will turn it back to normal. Okay, so I have not now selected 67. So as per relative referencing, this should be yellow and this should be bold. But now you check what is the result. I will run macro 3, which was in absolute referencing. It has highlighted 56 and 30 instead of these two. So this is the difference between absolute and relative. In relative, it will be always related to your starting position, and in absolute, irrespective of starting position, it will always highlight and it will always modify the cells which are used in recording. Now mixed reference is nothing but you can change the formatting in between, referencing in between of the recording. That is nothing but mixed referencing. Now we will go to the main part of this. That is nothing but the type of VBA procedure. First is the subroutine. There are three types of VBA macros, that is subroutine, function, and user form. So this is subroutine. Subroutine is nothing but a subprogram which can be executed by running it from Excel, VB, or called by another subprogram. And it can be created by macro recorder or typed in from scratch. I will show you how to make a subroutine, and I will take this example 1 here. It will take value from cell A1. It will add to square of user input and display the output in message box. I will go to this. How do I make a macro? I will insert a module here. I will write the code here. I will do sub paste 1. I will deem the variables. Deem is nothing but dimensionalizing. I will dimensionalize two variables. A as integer. Integer is nothing but a full value when it's not in decimals. And B as integer. What I will do is I will take A from the user. So A equal to enter value. Now B is our output. B, what I have to do, will take value from cell A1, add that value to square of user input value. So I will do range A1 plus square of A. This is our B. And then we will message box. We will output this B. So A is our input. We will square of that input, add to range A1, and they will display the output. First, we will make sure there is some value in our A1. I will make it 4 here. Then I will run this macro. From this macro, I can run this test1. It will ask enter value. I will do 3. So it will show 13. Why 13? Because 3 square plus 4. So 3 square is 9 plus 4, 13. So this is how we will write a macro and we will display it. Now we'll check the second example. Second example is nothing but delete rows from n1 to n2 as per user input. Now we will deem n1 as integer, n2 as integer. We'll take n1 from uh, we'll take n1 from user. So what I have done is I have taken n1 and n2 from the user. N1 is the from row input, n2 is the to row input, and it will select and from row to row it will select that and it will delete that. So suppose I have to delete from I have to delete from 6 up to 10. So this many rows I have to delete using macro. I will go to test2. I will run. Enter one value is 6. Enter two value it is 10. You can see it has deleted from 6 to 10. It will deleted all the rows from 6 to 10. So this is how you run a macro using subroutine. So next is the function. So what is a function? Function is nothing but the formulas which you are using in Excel. So suppose you have to you have to create a custom formula. That custom formula this also can be done in macro. How it can be done? I will do function here. I will show you first. I will show you on slide what example we are working through. So this is functions. Function is nothing but a subprogram that can be executed using its name in VBA or as an Excel formula. And it cannot be recorded. There is one point to note here. These functions cannot be recorded. You have to manually type only. So this one function, one example we will take. We have to calculate the saving using this formula. So what I will do, I will do savings. ES double is nothing but the decimal value. IS double and N is integer. P is the principal, I is the interest rate, and N is the number of years which I will take in integer. And the function saving will be S double. That is it will be in decimal. So savings will be equal to this P into 1 plus I raised to N. So this is the savings formula. This function I have created. After creating this function, how will you use this function? I will use it by typing equal to savings, and I will uh, give that three bracket values. 3000 is the principal amount. Interest rate it will be 0.05 5%, and the number of years that is 3. So this is the savings. So after 3 years at 5% interest rate, 3000 will become this much value. So this is how you can create your own custom formulas and use it in Excel. Now how to export it? This export how to means like this savings will only be available in this sheet. Firstly, I will tell you, whenever you write a macro in a workbook, you always need to save it as .xlsm, macro enabled workbook. If you save it as Excel X, all the macros will be gone. So always try to save it in this format. Also, if you want to that function you want in other Excels, you can save it as Excel add-in. So you can, if you save as Excel add-in, this saving formula will be exported to all other worksheets. After doing saving as Excel add-in, you can go to this options, add-ins, go, and you can select your add-in there. So after calling that add-in, this savings formula will be available to you in all the worksheets. Now we will go to the third part, that is user form. So this user form, I will just show you one example of the user form. So this is nothing but a user form which can be generated by VBA. This is a simple user form where we can input A, input B, and we will select if we want to multiply or divide. I will select divide, I will calculate, it will show me 10. If I select multiply and I will calculate, it will show me 250. I can reset this. I can do other calculation. I can quit it. So how to bring this button? I will show you how to bring this button in this sheet. You can bring this button by going into insert. Here there is button form control, and what you have to run. I have to run this test one. So by clicking this button, this first max subroutine which we used, or first subroutine which we created, it can be run by clicking this button 1. So this is how you make a button. Going back to this user form, how we can create a user form. User form can be created by going into this insert user form. This is the user form. You can add labels here. You can add text boxes. You can command buttons you can add. After creating all this, you need to write a code behind this. So I will show you what code I have created in this. This is the user form which I have created. I have coded this calculate, reset, clear and quit button. Calculate button is nothing but if multiply is active, then output will be multiplication of both the inputs. Else output will be division of A and B. So this is one simple form. This is nothing but AI. This is BI. You can see the name here. This is AI. This is BI. And this is out. So if I double click on calculate, I need to put the code here. So this, if multiply, then it out is multiplication, or else out is division. So what is this multiply? This multiply is nothing but this. Multiply and divide. You can see the name here. So this is how you can code a simple user form. And by going into this workbook, here I will say run me. And what is run me? Run me is nothing but this subroutine, and it will just show user form 1.show. So whenever this workbook is opened, it will show this user form. So this is third type of VBA macro. Okay, now I will just brief you about the applications of what we have learned. There are so much application of VBA. What I have shown you is just the tip of iceberg. So the basic application or the basic application in corporate world which you can use are automating the repetitive task. There are many tasks which you have to do repeatedly, and you can automate those easily using VBA. You can just record the macro and you can run it again. Then you can create a custom command and function like I showed you about the savings. Savings function is not available in Excel. You can make it by yourself. You can use it whenever you want. No need to always type the formula. You can just type it formula once, and then later on you can use that saving function. Then automating the design elements like the formatting which I have showed you. You can once do the formatting, record the macro, and then you can run it again. Another some advanced application of VBA are integrating the VBA with Outlook. You can automate your mails using Outlook VBA. You can take the Outlook data, all your email data in Excel. You can sort that data. You can manage that data. Then integrating with MS Word. Uh, MS Word can also be automated by VBA. You can track and review changes. You can automate the formatting. Then integrating with MS Access. MS Access is MS Access is a application which has a huge amount of data, and there is too much integration available in MS Access. All that database can be exported to Excel, and it can be automated. Then next is some data analysis problems, that is such as data regression analysis and Monte Carlo simulation. So what are this analysis? Data regression is analysis is nothing but predicting the future data by having past data. So by using the past data, you can create one equation, and using those that equation you can predict the future data. So that analysis can be done by VBA. Also, what is Monte Carlo simulation? Monte Carlo simulation is when a number of inputs will have some different probability functions, and depending on that probability function, you will have to you have to predict the output, or what is the probability of the output. That can be done by Monte Carlo simulation. Only not it will VBA will not only work in Excel, but it can also manage your files and folders which are in your PC. Means you can create a new folder. Within a folder, if there is certain file and you want to copy that file to some another location, you can do that easily by using VBA. Suppose you want to extract a number of files based on their name. So if any particular file has some particular name in it, you want to copy that file to some other folder. That can be done by VBA. Now there are suppose 10 worksheets. From 10 worksheets, if you want all that data to be in one worksheet, that can be done by VBA. VBA can accommodate all the data. You can integrate all the worksheets in one worksheet. Not only worksheet, it also works with whole workbook. Then next is web data scraping. The example which I showed you, which that is regarding the live currency data. So that live currency data that also can be automated using VBA. We can fetch the data from internet using VBA. Then later on, the last example which I showed you regarding user forms. So those user form data means that user forms can be used in making the calculation sheet. Calculation sheet that is regarding some analysis or some uh, what you say functions which you're doing in your department in your corporate life. That Excel calculations or Excel sheets can be converted to user forms. I will like to show you some one two example which I have worked on regarding this VBA macro. So this is some data here. This Excel tool I have made, Ultimate Organizer. what it will do is, this is name, city, phone number, email. This is name of student, city of that student, phone number, and email. What I can do is add a category. Add a category. That category would be added here. I can delete a category. I can add any particular record. That record will be added here. So this is the user form macro. Search and replace tool. Suppose this is a small data. Imagine it to be data of hundreds column and thousands of rows, and you want to search for any particular student. Then this will be very useful. Suppose for this person, I want phone number. I will do search and it will show me phone number here. If I want to replace this phone number, I can also do it. So this, you can see it has replaced. So this has a variety, this user form, it actually has a variety of applications. Also, I would like to show you one example of currency, live currency converter. So this is the live currency converter which I have created using the web data scraping and using the Power Query, that is query of user form and finding and taking the data from internet. So I have to select this drop down list. This drop down list can be created in user form. I will do convert, and it has shown me, it has converted this amount euro to INR, and this rate is applicable as per this date. I can also plot last 30 days graph. This will show me the plot of the it will show me plot of that rate among these dates, among last 30 days. So this is number of applications. There are varied application of this VBA user form. Okay, so I would like to thank you everyone for attending this seminar, and good luck with developing new programs. Thank you.
Thank you, Prasad sir, for your valuable seminar. Thank you. If any students have anything problem, you can mail me on rameshkumar.boy@bharatuniversity.ac.in. Otherwise, you can WhatsApp me on 9904443052. It is my personal number. You can message me. I will pass your question to the Prasad sir. Thank you so much, Prasad sir, for uh, giving giving us some time for the webinar. Thank you so much.
No issue. Thank you very much.